Radio for Skaro.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 741. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
Once again, we're just getting right to the introduction right now because we have a guest on this week, as we've been doing for the past few weeks. It's someone who I haven't talked to at great length since Gallifrey 1. Because she
all
and
those years ago, it seems.
She and I are of the very exclusive group of having interviewed Christopher Eccleston on stage. It's Deb Standish from Verity. Hello, Deb.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Not bad. Do you remember that? Do you remember that when Chris Eccleston talked to us on
that
separate
was a million
occasions?
Years ago.
I don't remember.
That was the biggest news you had all year.
I don't. Now. That was 2.5 months ago. That's all it was.
No,
was 2.5 months ago.
Yeah. You lie.
Well,
it was a million years ago and a different lifetime ago.
Yeah, it was. Gosh.
It was good times, wasn't it?
I have to think about them sometimes. I feel kind of guilty because I feel like I'm the high school quarterback who's like reliving glories 20 years later and like going out to the farmland and like chucking footballs at like hay bales and stuff just to prove I've still got it because I did that one time back in the final in 1995 or something. But I'm kind of like that. Like that was such a magical moment. And now in these
days,
do
you have a varsity jacket? That's what I want. I have to have
Chris
Eccleston varsity.
Eccleston's
big E on
varsity
it.
jacket. Yeah.
Do you have a put upon child that you're channeling all your energies into?
Not yet, but I don't know. Your memories of that, Deb.
You know, it was first of all, like how blessed were we that we actually had a galley? I mean, I think about that was such on the cusp.
Yeah, we dodged a bullet there.
Of everything happening that I just dodged a bullet by inches that we even had galley this year. And, we will be doing Verity Podcast hand sanitizer from here on out.
Oh my God, yeah.
That is that seemed to be a lifesaver for a lot of people.
That was almost prescient.
Yeah. Well, we did it the year before just because I tend to be a little bit of a germaphobe. Everybody, welcome to my world now.
Yeah.
So this year, we did it again, and I'm just so happy that I had a couple extras that I could bring home with me. Memories of that, it was wonderful. Don't get me wrong. It was amazing. He is such an attentive listener. So I don't know if you noticed this during your interview. Like he looks at you and he listens to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And having all of that attention focused on you that intently, it's a little unnerving. Just a little unnerving. But I'm going to be honest, that was not my galley highlight.
Oh.
I know.
And I know. I know what it was. Okay, well, go on. What was your galley highlight then?
My galley highlight was In Defense Of. The Verity
In
Defense Of panel that broke out into a full-blown musical at the end with everyone singing. It was a magical moment.
I was there for
think when I think back on, Galley 2020, don't get me wrong, interviewing Christopher Eccleston is a personal highlight, but just something that I'm going to hold close forever is that moment in Defense Of when we just had the amazing Wicked sing-along.
That was insane.
It really was.
Yeah, I didn't know what the song was, but once Tom got launched into it.
Yes, Tom and Jessica.
Tom and Jessica there. Jessica started, and then Tom just, boom, joined in with her.
Defying Gravity, yes. And people were singing along, and they were holding their cell phones up. I mean, that kind of stuff doesn't happen outside of the movies, and it happened right then and there, and you were a part of it, Stephen.
In a word for you, Stephen, to channel Ace, wicked.
It was Wicked because that's what it's from. The
I don't get it.
The play Wicked. I saw it on bus stops when I used to go outside. They used to advertise a touring show that was coming to Edmonton, or came to Edmonton, or was coming to Edmonton, but of course has been canceled. Because
and I'm not a musical person. Like I've been to musicals. I don't dislike them, but I don't dislike them. Don't get me wrong, but they're not. They're not particularly my jam. I'm not as fanish about them as I am about other things. But that was just a moment. It was really a moment.
It was a moment. days that we hope to see again, perhaps one day.
Fingers crossed.
As we ride this out. Today, by the way, is we have another friend on today. Kyle Anderson joins us for episodes 3 and 4 of our Frontier in Space commentary later on in this which were recorded in the very early days of this madness that we're on March 21st. I wanted the same day that they did the first live tweet along. Which is for Day of the Doctor, and there have been like 18 since or something like that. They just did one for Dalek with Rob Shearman. He also did one for Chimes at Midnight the day after. The next one they're doing is for Girl in the Fireplace on May the 6th, which is a Tuesday or Wednesday. What do days mean in this?
It's a Wednesday, I think.
Yeah,
as our friend Rachel Donner said, there's only 4 days now. It's yesterday, today, tomorrow, and someday.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, Sunday still has its distinctive lull to it. At least we can depend on that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What's Wednesday for us?
What is Wednesday for us? Yeah. How you been keeping otherwise, Deb?
Pretty good. I mean,
Okay.
ups and downs. And unfortunately or unfortunately, I am an essential worker, so my life hasn't slowed down much. In fact, if anything, it's gotten busier.
Oh.
So, I've missed so many of the tweet-alongs because I'm at work. I mean, when they're happening in East Coast time, it's like 3:00 in the afternoon. So I do kind of tend to jump on a little bit later and just read the tweets and kind of catch up on everything. So that's been a bummer. I've missed a lot of Doctor Who goodness. As anything, I live right outside of Philadelphia. We're one of the hot spots. I think, what did you say, Chris, earlier? We're like 6th in the nation for cases.
Pennsylvania.
In the state. Yeah. So Pennsylvania is, and we're sort of in the epicenter, and we're still, we have a color-coded system if you're, red, yellow, and green as to when they're going to start to ease some of the restrictions, and we're still firmly in the red. Part of the state has gone to yellow where they're easing some things up, but that's more northwest of us, way northwest of us, like Erie, Pennsylvania,
right,
which is practically Canada.
It's where Connor McDavid played his junior hockey. That's where I know it of. Yep,
exactly. It's a hockey town. So
it is.
Yeah, so it's been trying at times, but everybody's new normal is different, and you just kind of cope and you get along and you get up and you go to work and you get people online to do schoolwork, and it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thankful I don't have very small children now.
That's true.
I can't imagine, they're all pretty self-sufficient. I have 2 in college, finishing up college and their college year, and 1 in high school. And, they're pretty much self-starters. I don't need to supervise or motivate or do anything. They get on there and get their work done. But I can't imagine having 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders. All those parents out there with children that age, God bless, you have my wholehearted respect, because that's rough. That's really rough.
Yeah, a tweet from the Beaverton, which is the Canadian Onion that just floated by right now, said, exhausted nurse can't wait to come home to neighborhood kids banging on pots and pans for 5 minutes straight. And that's basically what some of these people are having to put up with, I guess.
Also, dogs do not like those pots and pans. I live right downtown, and my girlfriend's dog is not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really don't, in our area, we really don't have that. I think it's more like the downtown areas that are doing it, but we have lots of, we've had a couple organized drive-bys of hospitals, with fire trucks and police vehicles and things like that. So, but we haven't had the nightly, let's whack things.
Right.
And do a lot of noise.
Did you get
There's a guy setting off fireworks across from us, and we're like, where's he getting them from?
Wow.
Where? This is Canada. How the hell did you have fireworks in the first place?
Yeah.
Did you get the air show flyover thing?
We did, but I was at work and I couldn't see it. But my husband and my son were able to see part of it. So they saw a little bit because they were trying to fly over, I think, targeting the local hospitals. And it was just out of my sight line. I didn't even hear it, to be honest. I mean, I kind of poked my head outside and looked outside when it was supposed to be crossing over. But a lot of people in our area did see it and said it was pretty cool. I have mixed feelings about that. I'm like, can you take that money and maybe buy some masks, because they're really super expensive right now, if you can get them at all. But who knows? I don't want to. It brought a lot of people joy, so maybe it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, I'm impressed that like you've you still show up for Verity every week. You're the driving force behind that, Deb. Still, despite your life being more chaotic than it was before the pandemic struck. So well
we call
done.
it Verity therapy. It's
That's true. Yeah, you started doing them on video. I mean, it's not available on video, but your Zoom calls are now on video just so you can see people. I mean, how has that changed the podcast at all, if any?
It's funny because now you can see people's reactions to things. So like, Liz is particularly funny because she does a lot of emoting,
Right.
which we never could see before, and it's a little distracting at times. But and we've always said, I mean, because we're all great friends, so it just feels like. We talk beforehand as you guys do, kind of get, catch up on everybody. And there's times we just keep talking after the podcast recording's over because no matter how miserable of a day that I've had, it is always better after I talk to these girls, women, ladies. And I think that most people find that in general, like in life. And right now we're kind of constricted in how many people we can interact with. And I interact with a lot of people in my job during the course of a day, but they're not people I know or have a relationship with. So being able to have that little bit of connection, once a week or however often we record, it lifts your spirits. I always log off feeling better than when I logged on. Every single time. So as much as I kind of like some points are like, oh, do I really want to do this today? I know that I'm going to, it's like exercise. Sometimes you really kind of don't want to do it, but you do feel better afterwards,
That's true. Exercise is a lot tougher than speaking to people.
And we've had so many wonderful, wonderful comments of people saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I enjoy listening to you guys. This has lifted my day. And like that kind of stuff gets you through. I'm sure you guys get it too. Amongst the people that hate you for what you do.
Because there are those people. But
there are those people, but they're going to hate everything. They probably don't like puppies or candy either, so you can't take their opinion.
They take candy from puppies.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm. They make puppies into candy.
Dear God.
I'm always a little worried about how
pitch.
like
that was dark.
I know, yeah. Like I know that a lot of people's like commutes have shortened or ended, and a lot of people listen to the podcast on their commute to work, usually on the Monday morning or something. So I'm always concerned about those people finding a place for us in their lives.
I know.
Thus we keep making our episodes like twice as long during this time because we just want to talk to people.
And I know from my perspective and behind the scenes, both you and Steve and Warren have said the same thing. Like my podcast consumption, again, I listen on my commutes to work. And yeah, I know my consumption is basically nil right now.
I do social media stuff in the morning for work. That's the only time I listen to it.
Yeah. But have you found that your podcast desires have changed too? Like I know there's some podcasts that I listened to before that like I don't have a taste for right now, and I'll probably want to again. But
yeah, current event stuff, forget it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, current events or things that are overly cynical or ironic.
Yes.
I'm looking for a little bit more kindness right now.
I thankfully don't go in for things like that. Like I do like Doctor Who podcasts and Simpsons and more ephemeral stuff. Not the hard news stuff that like Warren injects directly into his veins.
I did, but I get it all day anyway, so why bother?
Yeah. I find that So actually, I don't know. I've sort of. I try to become more informed about the disease and the pandemic and what it takes to get through it and everything, because I find that's actually quite helpful. But I try to I stay away from like the hospital situations because that's something I don't really have control over. There's things that I have control over, what I can sort of do or look forward to, but I can't go into a hospital and clean up how it's going to be done. So I sort of like from my own health and sanity, I just sort of have to stay away from that sort of thing. So yeah, I am sort of curtailing it a little bit. Hockey, it took a long time for me to listen to hockey podcasts until like maybe literally this week, now that perhaps things are starting to look like they're planning on how to come back.
I'm not there yet.
No,
I'm not there yet.
No. I started doing a simulated NHL playoffs on Xbox. I'm watching the computer play games between teams that I put together and stuff. And so like I'm getting there a little bit, but it took a long time for that to happen. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's been changing. April seems like a blur. Like I said this on Twitter, how
Yeah.
it felt like the first week, like in mid-March, felt longer than all the weeks combined afterward. That's my own personal experience, but I just felt like April just went by like that.
No, totally it was, because March 14th was the first day I started working from home, for example. And those last 2 weeks and change in March just seemed to take forever. And April just like in a flash, it's gone.
Yeah, because we're used to this
now.
now.
It's May 2nd, so
March was just terrifying for me because we had a lot of things happening personally. When President Trump made his address to the nation and basically said, we're banning travel from Europe. My son was in Europe at the time.
Right.
And he was on a senior honors trip he goes to Rochester Institute of Technology. And they were doing a trip to Denmark and Sweden and looking at research facilities. It was a small group. I think there was 12 or 14 kids looking at research facilities, meeting with local officials. And it was kind of a big deal. You had to apply to be on this trip, and he was selected to go. And there was a lot of debate. Do I go? Do I not go? Even with the university, and they're like, so far there's nothing saying we shouldn't, and prognoses look good, and I think we'll be okay. And then that happened, and I was watching, and that was the night that the NBA ended their season. It was like all this thing like happened the same night, and basically the school woke them up and said, you need to get home now. And he's texting me, from small town Denmark, and basically left Denmark. Got to Copenhagen, took a train from the town he was in Denmark got to Copenhagen, took a flight from Copenhagen to Paris. They held the plane for them in Paris and got out of Paris the next day, and then flew into Detroit and then back to New York. But he had to be quarantined for 14 days. So there was this 14-day period where there was still some questions in the States, are they going to allow interstate travel in hard-hit areas and that sort of thing. So all of March, the last 2 weeks of March were just terrifying. So I'm like, what happens if he gets sick and I can't get there, or he can't come home, or he can't get to a hospital? What happens if he can't come home or he can't get home and the school was closed down? I mean, it's just like this cascading effect of terror. So the last couple weeks of March are just like, I don't have fond memories of them because it was very worrisome.
But he's safe now, and he's home.
He is safe. And, of course, the White House didn't clarify until later that if you were an American, you could come back. But you have to take that at face value. And the school was taking it. Thank goodness the school was really good. They said, do whatever you need to do. Get out of there. Right. And they did. I mean, they literally woke them up at 2:00 in the morning. They had 45 minutes to get packed and get themselves together before they were on a train. So it was... escape from Europe, as he likes to call it.
Yeah, last flight out of Saigon kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So April feels like a breeze then, I suppose, to you.
Yeah, April was... no, it wasn't. There's nothing a breeze here.
Comparatively. Maybe not even comparatively. Right. Yeah. Well, it's May now, there's Doctor Who stuff. Like, it feels like there's more content. We said this last week, I think. There's more Doctor Who content now when they aren't even producing the show than there was all of last year up until they started broadcasting the show, which is, I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I think where was all this Doctor Who content when he had a show to market, and now they don't really as much. But
well, one of the things on the news list, I'm just going to jump around because
hey,
why not? Doctor Who magazine 551 came out on Thursday, and there was an interview in there with Chris Chibnall, who was saying that things are apparently still on. I think the interview isn't there anyway. Things are still on track right now for a September mounting of Series 13 filming.
Yeah, it's production notes, which was really good production notes, by the way. It was a very personal, and I don't know, it was quite nice. Like, sometimes you could tell that like his arm's been twisted by the editors to finally, like, just submit something. Please, you haven't done it for like 3 weeks or months or whatever it is.
He
came up with something that was quite good, actually. But yes,
he always seemed more hesitant than Moffat did when Moffat was writing those notes.
Yeah,
but
less of a show off or just secretive? What's the deal?
Both,
or maybe just busy. Less of a. Yeah. I mean, Stephen Moffat, great person, etc. But he's a huge self-promoter that I don't think Chris Chibnall.
Well, so is RTD, really.
Yeah, but Chibnall, I can't recall if it was in Doctor Who magazine or if it was elsewhere. Also, assured people that, yeah, we shot Revolution of the Daleks with the Series 12 filming. That's in the can. I know I've seen elsewhere they're still doing post work on it right now for effect shots or something. So that's still going to happen during the festive season, regardless of what happens with Series 13 filming.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know the Radio Times, I think, got 3 or 4 articles out of that one production now, as is their modus operandi.
The Radio Times squeezing facts out of a stone. I can't believe it.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. Today on
We're
this,
milking it a little bit, just a
a
little.
tiny bit.
You got to remember, people, audiences can only read 18 words in an article at a time. So
Exactly. So
that's why you
would
need
get
50
the
articles to cover one story.
Yeah.
They should just pivot to video like everybody.
Oh, God. Never say that to me again, Deb.
Don't do that. Don't.
Well, one of my proudest work moments is telling people, no, we shouldn't, and people listening to me. And it turned out I was right. Surprise, surprise. And I'm the video guy.
There is coming down the pipe in the fall. This big
September.
initiative, September, from BBC Studios called Time Lord Victorious, a new multi-platform adventure. It's this adventure, which I think is produced by James Goss, which will see partners including Penguin Random House, does the books, Doctor Who Magazine, Titan Comics, Escape Hunt, so an escape room thing. Those will be fun to go to in the middle of all this. Big Finish, Eagle Moss, Hero Collector does the little figurines, Immersive Everywhere, Maze Theory, and BBC Books and BBC Audio unite.
But what the hell is vinyl? Like, what are they doing on vinyl?
And also escape rooms? Escape from where? Your house? Like,
That's the thing. I'm wondering how the escape room element will come into that and how. But anyway, so there's few. It takes place apparently right towards the end of the Time War. It'll feature the 8th, 9th, and 10th Doctors with Rose Tyler and monsters including the Daleks and the Ood.
And
because
there's a
I'm
lot
old, whenever they... Go ahead.
I was going to say there's a lot of talk, nothing confirmed. It's all scuttlebutt that people are hoping, praying, whatever, that Eccleston might come back to reprise his
I wouldn't
Ninth
hold my
Doctor
breath.
role.
Can we just stop asking him if he's coming back?
I think at this point we know if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
He's open. I mean, Deb, you and Stephen know as well as anybody. He's starting to talk about things, and
but
don't push the guy.
Yeah, exactly. We're
say-
lucky we got what we got at this point. I mean, that was my takeaway from my interview with him. He's very diplomatic. He says he'll be back for the 100th anniversary. That's his stock answer. But, I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of business decisions and creative decisions that are based on money. So if,
Most of them,
acting
really.
dries up and you still need to pay your mortgage and feed your family, who knows?
That's true. The money will.
I'm
always
old,
speak.
so anytime I see stuff like this, these big initiatives, I think of that thing they did with Star Wars before the prequels, but after the books that came out, where they had like Prince Zizor and this whole side story that people just panned.
I don't.
This is a whole thing in the mid
remember
'90s
that.
where Star Wars tried this before anybody else did, and they came out with action figures for this series that wasn't a movie, and it was just weird. But that's what I always think. It's like when Marvel did the new universe, which was just a more boring version of the Marvel universe. I'm not cursing this. This could be great for all I know, but whenever I see stuff like this, everything but the movies, I'm like, yeah, okay, but all right, we'll see.
I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic because I think there's definitely a space for that kind of a story, and I think as the tweet-alongs and things have shown us that we can get much more multi-platform and pull things out and expand the universe. So
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see how they're going to pull it off. Because there's a lot of entities with their own editorial boards and things and their own guidelines. So,
Not to mention, we talk about business stuff, restrictions on what they can and can't do license-wise. And
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
The comic
on top of
guys
that-
know about that very well, and the books do too.
Like
I'm more
James-
criticizing myself for immediately latching onto some quasi-failed thing from the '90s, as opposed to maybe giving this thing some air.
Maybe a bit.
you like your nostalgia.
And think about, the comics industry is in deep, deep trouble right now because of distribution issues with Diamond. So, I don't know.
I read that Walmart is going to start stocking comics now or something to help bridge that gap.
Oh, I haven't.
Well, Diamond
heard
was a
that.
problem to begin with, and this might
they
be
really were.
what breaks them, which would be good.
There are good and bad things. My biggest concern about all this is, so we've got audio, novels, comics, vinyl, digital, theater, escape rooms, etc., etc. Who is going to have time, money? How closely are you going to be able to follow this if you can't consume all these media elements?
That's a good point. Yeah.
My inner archivist is like, it's crying. My inner archivist is also crying about all this extant material that we're getting now with the tweet-alongs. Because, I mean, you know me, I love my VAM more than I love just about anything. I would love to see either Doctor Who magazine or somebody at BBC do a compilation, even, you know, maybe a fundraiser kind of book sort of thing where they're compiling all these tweets and all these comments from the creators, because as you guys were saying last week, so much of this stuff is coming out that we haven't seen commented on, whether missing scenes or the thought process on, you know, this is what we thought we were going to do originally but changed it to this, you know, and attach some of the extra material that is being produced, whether it's story or video links or whatever. But I mean, there's a gold mine of stuff there that I just don't want to get lost because it is in such a transient type media as Twitter. Like, I hope somebody is archiving all of this in some form or another, so we have that as a resource.
Well, some of the stuff that's getting produced, like the videos, for example, on YouTube, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there. I'm sure if you try to search for this or that on YouTube, you're probably not going to get all the stuff you're looking for. But that's a little easier to manage than something like Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, thank goodness for hashtags and things like that to help aggregate things. But by the same token, how many tweets don't use hashtags but still contributed to the conversation?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had that happen with the first tweet along with Russell. Like, he was going gangbusters and, forgot the hashtag, you know, and it's like, okay, are we ever going to be able to find that tweet now? Is it threaded? Is it threaded properly? I mean, I just, like I said, I hope there is somebody out there who is as VAM conscious as myself, who is saying, I am going to undertake this as a project and I'm going to archive all of these things individually, or, you know, type them up someplace in a document where at a later point they can be used as reference. Because I think there's of course, there's probably a lot of people out there like, who the heck cares? But we care, right?
Yeah.
You know production code. You want to know this stuff.
I know. And the fact that, like, a lot of this stuff is, like, coming direct from Chris Chibnall or the BBC, like, it's an official output. It's not like just, not to disrespect it, but it's not just fan stuff, so to speak. Like, it's actually like proper stuff being sent out. And so, yeah, it doesn't need to sort of be collated. Perhaps in the Blu-ray sets that come out in 10 to 15 years' time, not the bare bones releases that come out every year. But, like, you know, when the restoration team get their hooks into the new series Blu-rays, as I'm hoping will happen at some point, they'll have all this stuff looking back. Because I feel like
Doctor Who magazine could, like, collect one story at a time and just print all the commentary tweets.
Well, Doctor Who magazine puts out enough special editions and you know, non-regular content that that's totally an avenue.
Right. There you go. Doctor Who magazine. This one's for you. You can have that one.
I will take Doctor Who magazine to task, and that they're doing they started a poll, sort of a Twitter World Cup.
That one.
They started with the first Doctor stories a couple of days ago and stuff, and so they grouped things into groups of 4 and stuff. I have 2 complaints about it though. So one, Doctor Who magazine seems to be the only people who stick by calling An Unearthly Child 100,000 BC, a story that you know, named for, I believe, as a book once said, named for the time period in which it did not take place. And then they also had like, or maybe vote for the mutants, and then in brackets, the Daleks. Well, why don't you just put 100,000 BC and put An Unearthly Child? Because nobody voted for 100,000 BC, because no one calls it that and no one knew what it was called. Anyway, and then they threw in like the 3 Doctors in the Day of the Doctor. Well, the first Doctor was that it was. Is that really a first Doctor? Do you watch the Day of the Doctor and think that is my favorite first Doctor story? No.
It was how many people's first Doctor story though?
Well, that's like
actually that's probably not. That's
mine for one. I think
that's probably not true, because you had Name of the Doctor was probably a lot of people's first Doctor story.
Quite possibly. Anyway.
This is just proving that there are many people with very wrong opinions about Doctor Who, as we know,
and all the answers were wrong.
Know.
All of them were wrong. I know. It was like the 3 Doctors versus like the Aztecs as your favorite William Hart. Really?
No. That's wrong.
That's an easy choice. Is the Aztecs.
Yes, by default at that point. God.
No,
so,
it's just a good story.
In talking about tweet-alongs and griping about Doctor Who magazine's poll or their bracket thing, I'm just going to jump in and talk about the Sven and the Scarf that came out for a prequel to Dalek.
Yeah.
Not written by Rob Shearman, but so it's on the surface, a cute little thing of Henry Van Staten getting the Fourth Doctor's scarf and talking about how it had been in the time stream for 7 years and all that kind of stuff, which was Tom Baker's original run, etc. Of course, it's the one scarf that they have, not even considering there's different scarves in season 12 and 13. It's a season 13 scarf for what it's worth, and the colors are
This
wrong.
is important.
Different scarf in Shada, different scarf in
the
season
pedantry
18.
here is
Yeah.
glorious.
Chris lives with the knitter here. This is
No. I don't know if it's going to happen, Deb, but on Verity at some point. So I watched this thing when it came out, shortly after it came out. Kat hadn't seen it. Kat being a knitter and a Doctor Who scarf aficionado and so on. I showed it to her, and the vitriol about how wrong things were at the end. I'm going to let her probably discuss it on Verity, or maybe she's going to do it on
Save
Twitter.
that one for her.
Yeah.
Save that one for. I'm actually looking at one of Kat's Fourth Doctor scarves right now as I'm recording, because she made one for Eric Stadnick, our friend Eric Stadnick, who is in Prague. And before he moved to Prague, he stayed with me for a few weeks, and he was in transition, and he left a few things here that he could not pack. So I am holding them for him. And right now the scarf is on a mannequin, like a dressmaker mannequin in the room where I'm podcasting. So
nice.
I feel this one for Kat as a knitter myself. There's rules.
There's accuracies.
Rules.
There are accuracies.
There are.
Yes.
There's, and I have it kicking around somewhere, an initial scarf pattern put out by the BBC in the 70s.
Yep. I think it was 80s. I think it was the 80s.
Was it
they
the
put it
80s?
out.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's
BBC
Well,
Yeah.
depending on the dating.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was an easy go.
Yeah, it wasn't released by Unit Warren, or maybe it was.
Or was it?
I know of
Yeah,
it
this
because
thing-
I got
I'm
it.
just I'm just looking at it right now. It doesn't actually have
Yeah.
a date stamped on it.
No. Yeah.
but BBC
Scarves.
Enterprises is what the letterhead says. So
Yeah, I have my 1987 BBC Lionheart Doctor Who scarf. That's on the coat hanger in the entrance.
Like it has the Lionheart logo on it?
No, but on the little tag, I hope the tag is still on there, but I got it based on a PBS pledge drive in 19.
Oh,
It
okay.
might not be 100% accurate, and I stretched it a lot so that because it started out as like a 12-foot scarf, and I needed it to be longer like Tom Baker's was. So I literally was basically water skiing around a pole in the basement to stretch this thing out as a kid, and so.
What do you live in Manitoba? What's this flooded basement nonsense?
That's my well-worn Doctor Who scarf. It might not be screen accurate, but damn it, it's mine.
I just want a Lionheart scarf now.
as far as scarves go, it's the thought that counts. That's the kind of
Exactly.
the dominant thing is, hey, those who know are going to immediately recognize it as a Doctor Who or a Tom Baker scarf, and that's
But everything
that's
has to
good.
be perfect, or this buzzing in this brain will never cease.
Well, that's
All scarves are good scarves.
all scarves are good scarves, but all scarves are good scarves. But then there's that next layer. There's an onion you can peel when it comes to that.
Yeah.
As with
Replicas-
anything else, like Unearthly Child versus 100,000 BC, or
Exactly.
Inside the Spaceship versus Edge of Destruction.
Oh, no, come on. Don't you dare call Mission to the Unknown Dalek Cutaway, because it's on screen. It's a one episode story. It says on the screen, Mission to the Unknown. Don't call it Dalek.
Just
Cutaway.
call it
Get away from
T/A.
Dalek Master.
Don't call it by its production code.
No,
I tell you
don't.
what,
Don't do that either.
I am. I think I mentioned this last week. I'm going through mostly just to keep my mind occupied. I'm ripping all my Blu-rays, DVDs, mostly DVDs, to hard drive just for fun. All my Doctor Who DVDs and all the VAM and stuff too, but all the episodes as well. And I'm actually being nitpicky in the point where if it says part 1 on screen, I'm calling it part 1. If it's episode, I'm calling it
episode
episode. And for the first 128 episodes, I start off with the production code because of course production codes, and I'm calling it by the individual episode. It doesn't say An Unearthly Child Part 2 or something like that. It says The Cave of Skulls or something like that. So if I ever send them off to people, Warren, you will have no idea what they are.
I don't care.
you
That's
wouldn't
not that I
care.
don't have actually I don't have any idea, but I also don't care. So there's
Well,
that.
no, but if I was just I'll send you, if we're doing a commentary for this particular story here, I'll send it to you. I was waiting for Dalek's Invasion of Earth. What is this World's End? I don't understand what that is at all. It says K World's End. Is that a thing?
Why
Yes,
are
it's
you
episode
sending
1.
me a Simon Pegg movie?
That too. Named after a pub. Anyway, nitpicky Doctor Who stuff. We are.
Isn't that why we exist as Doctor Who fans?
100%.
Yep.
100%. Speaking of nitpicky, this is going to be annoying because Power of the Daleks is coming out as a special edition DVD Blu-ray on July 6th in the UK. I stress this is only going to be in the UK. I don't have to be told that it's never coming out in North America because I just know. Because Enemy of the World came out 5 years ago as a special edition in the UK? Never seen the light of day here in North America.
Well, just like we got Macra Terror, for example, on DVD. And the UK got it on Blu-ray. We've still never had that here.
Nope.
Yet.
I don't think Shot has come out on Blu-ray here. It's coming on DVD.
I think it has.
Has it? I don't know if it... I don't know. Anyway, I'm disturbed by the disparity, the growing disparity between UK releases and elsewhere releases. Deb, does this affect you at all in any way?
I find it very frustrating, but I have an all area player, so I've been able to play some of the stuff. But to be honest, I mean, this looks pretty, but I'm looking at the VAM. This would be the reason that I would get this, because you're going to be able to find this someplace streaming. But looking at the VAM on this, I mean, they've got some really good stuff. First of all, audio commentaries by Annika Wills. She's just a hoot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wait to listen to that. That would be really good. But they also have Patrick Troughton's earliest surviving TV appearance in Robin Hood. So there's lots of little tiny things that are packed onto this. That's the stuff that I would want more so than the animation. I mean, the animation's nice, but there's so many other things out there where you can get the content of the story. It's all the extras that always appeal to me, and I've kind of actually fallen off of my DVD buying because the extras have been. There haven't been any. There's been nothing. And that used to be the thing that always sold a box set or a DVD to me is what's the other content that I'm getting? Because right now, and I know people say if you don't own your own media, you may not have access to it, but there's so much of it's available streaming right now. And I'm lazy enough that if I can stream it, I'm going to stream it rather than getting up and walking into the room where the DVDs live and pulling one off the shelf, putting it into a player like the Amish, and then pushing it in, having to scroll through all the menus to pick out what you want. I mean, it's a job.
And living in Pennsylvania, you know about the Amish.
I know. So,
I just got Lawrence of Arabia on Blu-ray because I'm like, why don't I have this on Blu-ray? It's my favorite film of all time. But half the reason I did it is so I could put it next to my DVD of The Star Lost and tweet about it. Just to show the two greatest works of cinema in the 20th century.
So I got to ask you, Stephen, with the Patrick Troughton episode of Robin Hood on this collection, do you think this is going to set a dangerous precedent where maybe you won't someday get a special edition of Vengeance on Varos with Jason Connery as... Robin and Sherwood?
Robin and Sherwood to get all the various doctors. I don't know. I don't know if they do that. What I find it ironic, not the word I'm looking for, but the Robin Hood appearance, the still image of which
was it Robin of Sherwood?
Actually, in Robin of Sherwood. So that's a canonical appearance of Robin Hood. So what I also find interesting is that the color version, which of course BBC America commissioned after the fact, and they had to go back and basically recolor it all. I think they've touched up the animation. They aren't doing the color version on this special edition. It's almost like a defiance, we're not doing that. Yeah, it's not on there.
Just the black and white.
Just the black and white, which I prefer, to be honest. So yeah, it's so that in and of itself, the fact that basically saying, I know BBC America, you wanted a color version, we're not doing a color version of this, kind of leads me to think, we're never getting this in North America. Until perhaps the season 4 Blu-ray comes out in 2023.
Well, you might just have to import it from the UK and hope it's a region-free disc.
That's the thing; it's a hope because I imported the 2 Dalek movies and they didn't work. Thankfully, they're coming out later on Blu-ray on the same day, oddly enough. But the Shada one did. The Shada one did work. So it's hit and miss until you get the thing and you pop it in the old Xbox One and see if it works. Well.
These region lock things are just crap.
It is silly, isn't it? It's like
blackouts.
It's like blackouts, like broadcast blackouts in this day and age. It just feels like...
It is. I mean, think of how much more they could sell if it was region free.
Yeah, I would buy them.
For what it's worth, Stephen, Amazon UK currently lists the Power of the Daleks special edition. This is the original release, I think. Never mind. It's £110.
Yeah.
But I think it looks like they might have pulled the special edition listings off Amazon.
Interesting. Well, it's official because Doctor Who .tv reported it. So
yes,
That's an actual thing. Speaking of Blu-rays, by the way, I tweeted this earlier this week. The David Tennant Blu-ray set in Canada is $29.99.
It was $25.
Era on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And like that, the price of that thing has only gone down and down.
No, it used to be $25.
Okay, well, it's less than $30 then, basically.
It's less now than I paid for it when it came out.
Yeah, I know. So if you're hankering for a Blu-ray set, and let me tell you, my shelf is thanking me. Like that thing is going to get smaller and smaller as the years go along with all these Blu-ray sets.
He is the
coming out.
longest running new series Doctor, sort of.
But do you find that when you get like these box sets, like with eras, do they have the same extras on it that the individual DVDs had?
They do.
Okay. Because that would be my concern. Like, are they putting new things on but taking old things off? So now you end up having, 14 copies of Journey's End because you want all the van that goes along with it.
No, well, they were quite comprehensive with the Tennant collection. Like one thing that stands out that I enjoy is they have some recording footage from the next Doctor shot on video before they filmized the look.
Yeah.
So it looks like you're watching like Upstairs Downstairs or something like that.
Love it.
It's something completely different.
Yeah, Jenny doesn't have the settings right on our TV, which is great because we're watching Capaldi now, and I'm like, yeah, it looks like video. Sounds good.
That's not
I'm all for this.
Oh, Warren, for the sake of your relationship,
Please tell me you're not watching classic Doctor Who stretched out to 16:9.
No. We're not monsters.
Turn off motion smoothing.
She just doesn't have the
please.
motion thingy, and I'm not going to go on her TV and change it without her approval. So it's fine on my machine. Everything is cool on my monitor. So
I think Steven's having an aneurysm right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've let a lot of stuff go. I've let people calling it Legos instead of Lego go a while ago. Like, there's a whole stuff that I've just sort of cleaned off my plate. But the motion smoothing is like,
I'm half and half on it because if it makes stuff look like tape, I kind of like that.
yeah, but it also
Like
makes
I
it
saw
look like
the Hobbit in 2D, 48 frames a second because of my 2D glasses, and it was like watching the most expensive Doctor Who you've ever seen. It was glorious, even though the movie sucked. It was glorious. See, 50-foot tall BBC vision mixing, kind of.
Very expensive vision mixing. Yeah, that didn't really set a trend, did it? 48 frames per second.
No, it
Funny
didn't. 'Cause it's a
No,
dumb
it didn't.
idea.
Yeah, didn't. On other news, TELUS Publishing is putting out a official and unofficial and unauthorized history of Doctor Who exhibitions, like all the British ones, like at Longleat and Blackpool and everywhere else that were going on in the UK. I assume this is limited to those in the UK, unless there's like the odd tour that happened in the glory days in the 1980s where Peter Davison's on the back of a flatbed truck driving down somewhere in Birmingham, Alabama, or wherever it was.
I think it's just UK stuff.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
kind of neat. I like historical stuff like that. I like looking back at how ramshackle, relatively, things were back in those days before, corporate shenanigans got their hooks into the mix and everything just seemed a little more homespun and sort of unofficial and probably unsafe, let's face it.
Well, I mean, for a good discussion of some of that, going back to the Terry Nation Army stuff, them talking about, these Dalek shells were at this exhibition or at this chemists in small town, I don't know, Berkshire or something.
Yeah. Yeah, gets crazy. Crazy Wild West days. Anyway, so the whole book's coming out, talking all about that. It's available for order now. Links in the show notes at readyforskaro.com. Going through our ramshackle news list here, we already talked about the tweet-alongs. The next one being Girl in the Fireplace on Wednesday with Steve Moffat and Sophia Miles are on that. This is cool. So, not too long ago, actually, Big Finish tweeted out a pic of Tom Baker on a Zoom call, being Tom Baker, basically. And everyone sort of wondered what this was all about. Was it for a recording? It was for a recording. The first full cast, full-length BBC Doctor Who audio drama from Big Finish recorded entirely during the lockdown will be released on May the 12th. That has got to be one of the quickest turnarounds, I think, for a Big Finish story, since probably the John Hurt ones came out in fairly short order as well. Like the fact that they recorded these things over Zoom with the microphones in place and have edited together, and it comes out on May 12th. Tom Baker, Louise Jameson, John Leeson, with Fenella Woolgar, who of course played Agatha Christie in The Unicorn and the Wasp way back when. So yeah, how about that?
Can we just raise a glass to the editor of that?
Yes.
That's
Because
a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
we all know what interruptions are like recording a podcast. And, that adds to the charm. There's a dog barking, a telephone ringing in the end, somebody's yelling upstairs. There's things that happen. And that's just part of the charm of people. They know we live real lives. But you can't have that during an audio recording for a story that is going to be put out for people to pay money for. So that there was a lot of scrubbing in that one. So.
Yeah. Good work. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think in these Steve Barry of Big Finish, if you're listening, if you want to put the person who edited these together and not just the writer or director in the press releases, we would appreciate it because they do a lion's share of the work and make this thing sound right. Because you're right, when you don't have the actual control over the recording process, like bringing the actors into the studio or going there personally to record them, as I might do with Tom Baker, perhaps. It's like you are throwing caution to the wind. You're thinking, okay, how do we get this sounding like we usually sound it for an actual proper audio drama? So well done, sound
who
editors.
has a soundproof booth in their home? Somebody's sitting at their kitchen table recording this.
All the stuff that I see like Jacob Dudman doing for the lockdown stuff. Like I'm curious where he is. Does he have a soundproof booth?
He does a lot of audio books. Toby Haydock has a thing in his house now because he does a lot of audio
people
books.
that do it a lot, I'm sure do.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably have a setup, but not everybody does.
No, I mean, I'm in a relatively podcast safe environment here for this podcast here, and we do a lot of stuff for it. So I think it's people think that you just need like this big giant soundproof, like basically you need to record a Beatles album inside of a studio. You don't need that much. You need a good microphone and some padding and stuff, and you can pretty much get it done. So. Yeah. It's not as bad as all that, but I'm not. Maybe Tom Baker doesn't have such a thing in his palatial estate or wherever he lives right now, contemplating his knighthood as he should, because Tom Baker should be a knight of the realm.
Long overdue.
Because he's amazing, and I love him every time I see.
I just want to see his
something
acceptance
from him.
speech.
Oh my god! I'm going through. I'm ripping all the DVDs, and I got up to Creature from the Pit is the most recent one I did late last night. And there's something that he did for like some BBC animal show where he's talking about animals and comparing them like to Doctor Who animals. And he's doing it on the set of The Creature from the Pit. And he's got his head and his arms in a yoke. And he's talking to camera and basically making it all up. But I'm looking somewhere for a cue card or something, but he's not. He's just like being complete amazing for like 3.5 minutes to camera, and then you can hear him go, "Oh God, forgive me!" Like he thought he like made a meal of it and stuff like that. And it's just amazing. I'm thinking that's the most amazing performance of anyone I've ever seen, because he's like going off the cuff and talking about the Shrivenzal and the Crinoid and Zygons and stuff as if he knew about them. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, just try to hold him back.
Just try. Exactly.
Not even a yoke can do that.
We must have obviously hit the end of our news list, because we've got to the obituary part of the portions, because Chris puts these things at the end and ends everything
I can
on
put them at the start if you want.
There's no good place to put them.
No good place.
To be fair to Chris.
Wally K. Daly, who is a notable writer of many, many radio plays and other things for the BBC back in the day, and wrote one story of Doctor Who that never actually was made. The Ultimate Evil sadly passed away this past week at the age of 79. So he actually... He adapted it to the Big Finish version of that as well. So he actually revisited his story later in life. So sad news to end the podcast, or at least this portion of the podcast, because we got a commentary. But anyway, Deb, thanks for coming on for this bit of nonsense where we talk about stuff for like almost an hour and things. But it's just lovely to talk to you again, Deb.
I know, it's my pleasure. Like I guess it was Galley the last time we really had a other than, on various social media things. But yeah, it's nice talking to voices, to people outside of my normal realm. Right. And I do think, like I said, with my job, I feel like I have a lot of contact with people, but they're not people that I have a relationship with. So it's good for the soul to talk to people. And I highly recommend it to everyone out there to chat with your neighbor from a respectful distance away. And
Very respectful. Yeah.
very respectful distance. It's good for you.
It is indeed. All right. After the break, then, folks, we dip back into our commentaries again. Frontier in Space, episodes 3 and 4, with Kyle Anderson. Welcome back to the commentary portion here of this podcast. Frontier in Space, episodes 3 and 4 today during our day-long session as we record this, and to watch the Dalek War box set, more or less. And now we have our first guest. We have our first guest of this long marathon. It's my old buddy from the Memory Cheats and currently of 5 Rounds Rapid. It's Kyle Anderson. Hello, Kyle.
I thank you to get the name right. It's 5 years Rapid.
Well,
and it's the best podcast title ever because it is not rapid to cover those 5 years.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Years take a while, yeah.
Wow, yeah. So anyway, happy to. I'm glad you could find some time in your schedule.
Yeah, well, I was going to do a lot of sitting around, so I figured I'd move to a different area of the house and sit around and talk to you guys instead.
Yeah. The Graham O'Brien approach to vacations is now everyone's approach to working from home, basically, as we record this.
Yeah.
To give you a bit of a snapshot in time, everyone. So anyway, we are watching Frontier in Space episodes 3 and 4. I'm sure we can carry on some banter over the slow bits of these episodes. Let's do that and watch the episodes and get on with it. So here we go. I assume, Kyle, you've got your legally purchased DVD, Blu-ray, Laserdisc already at the go. That's splendid. Okay, here we go then. Frontier in Space, episode 3 in 3, 2, 1, play.
And just,
Doctor Who theme, baby.
It is. It's the one.
And to catch you up, Kyle, we are doing a count of incarcerations.
Okay.
So where the Frontier in Space is of course famous for having lots of like scenes set in cells and whatnot. So we're at 6 right now, counting the Doctor or Joe or both.
That's a lot. That's more than I would have thought. I mean, this
And that's over 2 episodes so far. Yeah.
Right.
We're not counting reprises. This still counts as the same.
Yeah.
Incarceration.
Well, yeah.
Thanks for it. There we go.
See, the tensions are so relaxed that she can just get a head massage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this is what every world leader does at any given crisis.
I just had an image of Boris Johnson doing this, and I'm not happy about that.
Oh. Ew.
He just stands in front of a window blowing hot air
Like
in
she's
his
got
own face.
like look at the gloves. Look at the dress gloves that her secretary has.
Yeah.
Which should be de rigueur now.
Yeah.
I love early 70s versions of what the future is going to be. Especially this one.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all this like brutalist architecture that they're using. And
What opinions, if any, do you happen to have on the human helmets?
I don't understand the point of them. They're like Greco-Roman wrestling helmets, but like, what about the top of people's heads? Like, what if something falls on them?
That's like the probic vent, basically.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it is.
Like this random riot footage.
We
Yeah.
teach our soldiers to face threats head on. The random ride footage, I think, was from somewhere. I think it's Tokyo, 1969, some student riot or
Well,
something.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it was the release of Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I saw people lining up and not socially distancing for that. That's not good.
No.
I was like, if you have the money to buy Animal Crossing, you could download it to your device.
I just want to give everyone a heads up as the references we make during the course of this commentary series, which you will hear play out in May
And later.
We recorded this on March 21st, the same day that a whole bunch of people are gathering around the world around their computers to watch Day of the Doctor. We decided, we're going to watch Frontier in Space and Planet of the Daleks instead. So any reference to world events and ongoings at the time, please take that into account. There's your disclaimer.
It's a snapshot into 2 pasts.
Oh, is it ever?
That is the worst handle ever on that flask thing.
That is
How dare you.
dangerous. That's a murder weapon.
It's like
That
a
is-
rhino horn.
Yeah.
It is.
That is like
Is that
Chekhov's.
like a Jadoon flask? Like, do they have their own their own set of crockery?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, if Ogrons
skilled.
can have accountants and webmasters, then
That's true.
certainly the Judoon must have people working at kilns and stuff.
Yeah, are there artisan Jadoons?
I'm sure there has to. I mean, they can't all just be, brutes and
No, I mean that's a very
hired
that's
goons.
a very narrow-minded cultural focus.
It
It's
is.
kind of like Alberta with oil.
Yeah, exactly. Alberta is a much more diverse and rich province than just the oil patch, I'd like to. Well, then again, we do go to see the Ogron home planet, and yeah, it is just a dump. So,
Yeah, but they have really, apparently good leather works and stuff for their clothing.
How dare you insult Dump Nos?
that's a hell of a mind probe. Oddly enough, if a Dalek,
No, not the mind
yeah, I
probe.
know it is.
He's just wearing like a saucer on his forehead.
I like that the torture operator
Not
also
the pie
has
tin.
She's got
And she
nice
has
evening
gloves.
gloves on too.
And a collar.
Oh, this is the best costume design ever. I
Yeah.
love this story so much for its costumes alone.
I do too.
There we go. There's the mind probe. Rolling back the highlights there. Obviously, they got the season 10 Blu-ray as well because they're just
Weird that the Doctor's mind could think of things from a third-person perspective.
I know.
Yes, from different angles.
with different angles.
His mind is a switcher.
Yeah.
Different angles, different takes.
This is her only scene. She gets a close-up in it.
Yeah, it's a saucer with one lone gooseberry on his forehead.
It means that he could walk around Earth and get power from the Dalek saucer because
Well, that's what the antenna's for.
that's what the antenna's for.
Increased to 12. Oh man,
Oh,
Nigel Tufnell's going to be angry here.
what if you just had 10? Be the highest and just make that louder.
But this goes to 12.
Boom, boom, boom.
This one is my favorite for being interrogated because the Doctor is putting out the least amount of effort in any interrogation ever. He's just like, "No, I've told you already.
Yeah.
No."
You compare that to like Resurrection of the Daleks or something like that, right?
Be a little more chill there, Doc, eh?
The blocking of this was improvised by the two actors.
Yeah.
Jo has finished her judo lesson now and has returned to the cell.
There you go. This is
I like how she has clearly has a wardrobe somewhere inside the cell.
This is the 7th incarceration here, by the way, we're up to.
Are we counting it as a separate one? Because the Doctor never left.
They're pretty relaxed about it at this point.
Yeah,
No,
it's counted
they
as
did.
7.
They did because they get, because they were taken out from here, and then the attack happened, and then they were supposed to capture
No,
them.
let's call it 7 then. So
Yeah, we'll call it.
we don't have to justify a
There's
darn
no
thing.
logic. Yeah,
This is
there's-
completely arbitrary.
Is it though? Is it?
I think so.
Arbitrary enough. Well,
I was about to play laser tag. You guys want to come?
Paul Simon ready to play laser tag. Yeah.
Now, see, this is still 7. We're not counting this as a separate because
No, they're just changing cells.
yeah, well, Joe's staying there, and then Doctor Who is going off to meet the president.
Oh, now she's got blue to match her dress.
She's even got a blue harmonica on her desk. What is that?
Her and Jenny Williams play the blues a little bit. Earl Sigma pops by later on, and that's the second Happiness Patrol reference I've worked into this commentary somehow. That's for Warren's benefit mostly, but
I'm not happy about this.
Well, Warren loves the Happiness Patrol, of course. So.
It's his favorite story.
Nope. You are wrong. The lunar colony where things get really communist.
yeah, Earth. It is kind of shocking in a way that Earth seems like this nice utopia and everything. Oh, by the way, we have a lunar penal colony.
Where we put our undesirables.
Yes. Australia in space, essentially.
Yeah. I love it, if you look at the Malcolm Hulk stories, he doesn't doesn't give anyone an easy go of it. Like even in like Invasion of the Dinosaurs, the hippies who ostensibly think politically the way that he would, he's like, no, these guys are stupid too.
Yeah. You're a great fan of Malcolm Hulk, Kyle.
I am. I'm a big fan.
It's
I like that every one of his stories was just, this is what I think politically and socially, and now I'm going to make it sci-fi.
And now we're on the moon.
And you gotta
Just
make
like
it.
that.
Yeah. Why not?
It's kind of a cool moon.
It's really well designed. This is one of the best looking stories I think they did.
I think this wall seems a little unsafe.
It seems oddly enough a bit of an homage, not an homage, but it reminds me of the moon base, the Doctor Who story, the moon
Yeah,
base.
I was going to say, in the moon base, at least you can, close up the exterior wall with a tray.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes during the summer we like to open up the moon.
This guy was in
Enjoy a
Coronation
sweet,
Street.
sweet vacuum.
Was he in Coronation Street?
Yeah, the shorter guy that the Doctor's talking to.
Yeah. Kudos to probably Paul Bernard who cast him, because it was, like many things, written for a white guy. And he cast this actor, who's of course of South Asian descent, and they actually changed the name to match. And what I like about it is that
he's not called like McPherson or something.
No, like his Doherty or something was his original name. Well, no, we'll call him Patel. And I just, I like that this is such a forward-thinking story that we have we have people of color in prison, so I suppose it's not that forward-thinking. But the woman president of Earth, who's obviously not the first one, and it's Malcolm Hulk and the rest of the people making Doctor Who were forward
young
thinkers.
Dennis Carey in the background.
Yeah, young. He was never young.
And Robert Forster is the heavy.
No, that is it Richard Shaw is his name, I think, who was in the Space Museum. So he's
that's Richard Shaw.
Yeah.
As Cross.
He played the governor in Space Museum.
So this is the introduction of people to the penal colony.
Right.
So the other three people the Doctor is with, they're all in the like scrub judo outfit things.
Yeah.
And he's there in his green velour. Like,
well, there you go.
I always thought it was like,
there you go.
The other three were political prisoners elsewhere on Earth, and they just got moved.
They just said it, yeah.
Whereas he's the new one who's been sent straight to the penal colony.
They just said it. Yeah, that was dialogue worked out. If you were listening, Chris, or watching at this point,
why would I do that?
Yeah.
I want to watch Dennis Carey roll a blunt in the background.
He's rolling a joint in the background. I think he might be.
Well, he's
he
totally
doing?
rolling a
He
cigarette.
actually is.
Yeah.
What is he?
He's got his green leaf or whatever the thing it's called.
And so now what the Doctor has to do is discover who are the prisoners and who are the warders.
Yeah, I get it.
Speaking of prisoners.
I get it.
See, I just want to see him like light up and just start blowing smoke in Pertwee's face. Like,
Yeah.
This is a weird performance from this guy. He doesn't seem like I lead the peace party movement.
He looks like Patrick.
He doesn't
Troughton.
really come across that way.
he's not sprightly like Jeremy Corbyn.
He does look very Corbyn-y.
Yeah. He made old and British.
Wait, is this the Corbynite maneuver?
Oh wait, this is obviously 8. Obviously this is 8 because he's actually in a proper penal colony. So this is the 8th instance of being locked up.
Yeah, for
Mark it
sure.
down.
This is definitely 8.
Is this Esperanto? It probably is Esperanto.
No, it's English. He was talking about like banks and High Court of Bassat.
I love futuristic font.
The
It's
51st and 52nd Smolk Act.
Smolk.
Smolk. It's like Malk, but with an S.
It's like a small mulk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enriched with vitamin K.
It's like a lower number of stores in a cluster. It's a Smolk.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mini small.
Nice chair. I like that chair. Gonna want it.
It doesn't look very ergonomically correct.
No, it doesn't look ergonomic. That's why I had to react because it's the Master from TV's Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
They should have played an applause track in there, ooh, or something like that.
Space Jenga's weird.
It looks like just as weird as Star Trek chess,
It was inspired by, I believe.
which somebody came up with the rules for it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to bother trying to learn
Of
this.
course they did. They came up with an entire language of Klingon.
Yeah.
Is that Barry Letts in the background over Patel's shoulder?
Yeah, yes, it is. It's 2002 version of Barry Letts in 1973.
These guys don't seem too bad off, really. They seem pretty relaxed.
I know. This is obviously a white collar lunar penal colony.
But it's weird that all of the, or maybe, it's a conscious choice, obviously, but all of the prisoners are either people of color or old white people. Mm. So I wonder if it's like, those are the only people who want peace, I guess. I don't know. Certainly not the way nowadays where old people are awful. But just kidding, old people.
Old people are awful.
Amy's choice had it right. Just kill the lot of them.
Wow, this took a bit of a turn.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I didn't mean for it to, but I'm not going to take it back.
We don't have to kill them. We just have to send them to the moon to spend the rest of their days there. I mean,
see, the Master has never been diplomatic ever past this, has he? I mean, I guess maybe Ainley was a little bit, but
Not
now
so
we're
much.
just- they're
No,
just
because
nuts.
he knows all the local laws and customs here. He knew it all in Colony and Space, and
Now, having said that, Sacha Dhawan spent a whole bunch of time as his agent, so
I also want
Missy
that
says to hell with it, though.
Yeah.
And Sim kind of does.
I do like his outfit.
Well, Sim was the president for a
Yeah.
while, so
Yeah, but he
played the
didn't,
game.
he didn't act any less loopy.
the whole of humanity was the John Sim Master, man.
Ugh,
It's true.
that never happened.
But we don't.
Canonically, Warren, you were the master for a period of time.
Oh, now they're getting their Pedialyte.
I'm an adult. I don't need a sippy
Little
cup.
sippy cup, yeah.
The doctor's going to do shots.
I've never.
I
understood-
think this might be my favorite version of Pertwee's hair.
You know what? I was going to... Okay, go on, Kyle, because this is something
No, I just think it looks so like windswept and cool.
Yeah. I
And
think
voluminous.
season 10 is definitely my favorite overall period of Pertwee's hair. I think Day of the Daleks is actually my favorite story of his hair. It gets a bit silly in the mutants and the Time Monster, but there's a little bit of texture to it here. And then, of course, 11, it just gets too big. But
Yeah, way too big.
glad we had this talk.
Well, it's important to kill 12 seconds of this.
Yeah, it's a lot
marathon
That's a lot
commentary.
of hair, though. I mean, look at that. I mean, heck, during the course of this self-isolation, my hair might start getting like that, too. So
Oh, mine already is. I needed a haircut way before the lockdown was
Why
out.
don't you two shut up? How about that?
I might just let it go out and just see what the hell happens. Why not? I mean, this is the chance. This is your time, everyone.
Well, you can start a vlog, Stephen, and like every day you can report in on your hair.
Yeah.
Somebody shared a meme, or it wasn't even a meme. It was just a picture along with it was just a picture of the Beatles circa Rubber Soul, and it was just like, guys, get used to this look.
I like 1966 Beatles look. That's a good look, actually.
Yeah, it was very uniform.
Rubber Soul is one of my top 3 Beatles albums as well. So
Mine too. I love it.
Probably in my top 10 or 15, I think. But
Revolver's best.
Rubber Soul, they had to write to fulfill a contractual obligation. They wrote the whole album in 3 days.
and it was good stuff. Darn it!
And it's great. Yeah, they wrote one of their best albums because they had to.
Oh, is it really a contractual
Isn't,
obligation?
Day in the Life? Not Day in the Life. All You Need Is Love. They wrote in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows.
They were really good at doing
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's
Elton
just
John
the words. All
apparently
you need is
has
love
that
over
skill
and
too.
over and over and over.
Beatles are broken up by this point.
Oh yeah, what is this? 73?
Late 72 is when they were shooting this. Yeah.
72, yeah.
John had released how many solo albums by now? Probably 1 or 2.
1 or 2. I think they all had.
Imagine is already out and dominating the airwaves.
What it was?
The Paul McCartney album Ram, which I think was his second solo album, is really good.
Is it really?
I have to say.
Oh.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm not the post Beatles aficionado that others are. I've barely heard any solo material apart from Jet, Wings. I mean,
Well, I mean, yeah, Band on the Run was like his big album.
Yeah.
But no, people were mad at Paul. I can get way into Beatles stuff if you want to, but everybody now thinks it was Yoko's fault that they broke up, but at the time, everyone hated Paul.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
And wasn't Wings kind of his redemption in that sense? Like, because he came
Yeah,
out-
like he put out a few albums solo and they didn't do well, and then Band on the Run was kind of like his comeback and was a huge hit. And I think maybe also Live and Let Die was before that too.
73.
Or right
yeah.
around that time.
Around. Maybe he's writing that song right now. Maybe he's recording it with George Martin.
As he's watching Frontiers.
Watching Frontier. Why not?
he could have been. What else? What other choices did he have, really?
Well, clearly
Yeah.
that was inspired by this story, the story of Doctor Who.
Obviously.
Yeah.
You used to say live and let live. That's a very peaceful thing to
Very
say.
much, yeah. It's a line that Professor Dale says here. In those glasses that do... Wow, that's
Yeah, they're not going to do like earlier scenes. They were actually, like up and in front of his eyes, and
Well, they're good
Well,
for...
guess
what the
maybe
hell is
he's
that
tilted
string
the-
doing? It's just hanging there.
Yeah, they're good for rolling joints, obviously, but...
well, that's all he needs
Yeah.
them for.
Yeah.
He has perfect vision, other than for rolling joints.
Didn't Ringo have the highest selling single, actually, in the 1970s amongst all the ex-Beatles with It Won't Come Easy? I think that was like the highest...
I think you're right, actually.
Of all people, Ringo.
I can't imagine that beat out Imagine.
It did. It 100% did.
By the way, apparently a bunch of celebrities sang Imagine, including Gal Gadot and Anson Mount, Captain Pike, called it out and said, I need celebrities singing to each other like I need a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you, Anson Mount.
Speaking of Imagine, yes.
Yes, he is giving off waves of conspiracy. No wonder you're in prison, because I'm thinking your planning is you're a mark. You're a mark, Professor Dale.
You fool. You foolish fool.
Yeah, you blind male fool. To quote Mary Morris from Kinda.
Now that's a good story.
That is a good story. This is a good story
in
too.
addition to this
Yeah,
one.
thank you. Poor guy. Yeah, he's told his story like 3 times. There you go. So we're still at 8, right? 8 incarcerations?
I believe so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Just wanted to make sure we aren't losing track of this all.
I just assume.
I think it's funny that Cross, I think the reason that he's working with the guards is because they gave him a belt with a buckle. Everyone else has this like karate belts.
I got a buckle. Lunar penal colony for life in this utopian age. Oh, God. Oh, someone left it open. Oh, that's convenient. Such a dupe.
This has trap written all over
It does. It might actually have written over it. This is a trap. In felt pen. It says not Peggy's boat. Is that the reference? I never watched Lost.
Penny. You were really close.
Okay.
all you have to do is walk across the moon's surface.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like it's no big thing.
They did that in the moon base. Here, let's put on these very thin jumpsuits. That'll do the trick. I suppose technology in the space year 2540 is, spacesuits are like this, like raincoats, basically.
Well, I don't know. I bought a thermal lined coat for when I went to Utah this last January, and it was really thin, but it was really warm.
Oh.
So I think they can do it.
Oh, wow.
Well, especially by the space year 2540.
Yeah. Now, what about in the year 2525? Did we miss what happened then?
If man is still alive.
Yeah, right. I guess they are
Yeah.
because now we're past it. But
Well, they had a hell of a 15-year recovery, but we just don't even talk about that incident in 2525. It is a reference to
no,
a
we're
song.
looking ahead. We're looking ahead to 3535.
Yeah. Right now I'm just looking ahead to 2021.
Is that where they pick their sons and pick their daughters too?
I think so. You get more Kool-Aid than the mower.
The Kool-Aid man busts through the door to rescue him at the start of episode 4. Oh, yeah! Oh, you didn't put your helmet on. Sorry, dude. I'm Duff Man now for some reason.
They are basically the same man.
They pretty much are, aren't they? Yeah. Ah, end of episode zoom.
Such a janky crash zoom as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little wobbly.
A little bit. This is kind of like CSO. Like, you had to start doing CSO in this day so that you could be better at it later on. You had to be better at crash zooms here so you could perfect it in Trial of a Time Lord. That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah.
Wow, we're done one. We finished an episode already.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty quick.
That's pretty quick. Hope you enjoyed that, everyone, and you too, Kyle. Now,
oh man,
yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have gotten me here quick enough when you dangled the carrot of Frontier in Space in front of my
I
head.
knew it was there. I thought obviously going to have to ask Kyle because he'd be upset if we didn't. And
also, when you did this episode or this story as a commentary, wasn't I on it?
No, we didn't do it. No, you were on the
we didn't do it.
miniscope.
That was right. Okay.
Yeah, we haven't done a
the Hulk
fair enough.
miniscope you're on for sure.
Yeah. All right, that is episode 3 in the books. Let's bring up episode 4. How about? What do you say? Episode 4 of Frontier in Space. Y'all got it ready there?
Yep.
Oh, sure do.
All right then. Then here we go, everyone. Frontier in Space, episode 4. In 3, 2, 1, play. There we are.
I've watched this enough that triangle in the middle is speaking to me by this point.
Yeah, it is. It becomes Pertwee's
Just to you.
nose, oddly enough. It's an inverted
That
triangle.
is the triangle on the
Yeah.
middle.
If they should have maybe bumped Pertwee's face up a little bit so that his nose would be perfectly aligned with.
Well, you can't change it now. This is
I think you can.
1973. It's too late.
Maybe
you
they
can't,
could-
You can't retcon Doctor Who in the 2020s.
Not one
No,
line.
you certainly can't do that.
No, not at all.
Not without a wall of online rage.
I think they should maybe for the rest of the Pertwee box sets, they should fix that and have his nose come out of the black in the middle of it, just to accentuate
Like a
it.
skull?
Like a skull, exactly, just like a skull. He
Some
is the
fine
worst
jumpsuits.
leader. This is why the peace party is going nowhere. He is an idiot.
Immediately dropping to the floor.
Yeah, I like that. Stop doing that. They won't hear us. Then he immediately shouts help, as if that's going to help even more. Professor Dale. I think Patel needs to take over.
He's just going to roll over and die.
Yeah. Come on. You've been without oxygen for 12 seconds. I can hold my breath for longer than that.
He's old. I'm sure that factors into
I
it somehow.
suppose.
It's quite the ornate lock, too.
It is a bit. You turn it one way and then it works. Dun,
Oh,
dun,
hello,
dun.
the master.
I just love how calm Delgado is. Whenever he shows up, from season 8 forward, it's just like, "Hi, remember me?"
Yeah.
He's just Captain Swab. They've never out-swabbed him.
Oh,
No. Absolutely. Actually, to the point where they've had to go the other way. They've had to make him crazier and make the character crazier and crazier to have them stand out. Whereas I would kill for one of the new performers to be just kind of supercilious the way that he is.
I agree. It would be kind of like, if you'll allow me the reference, it would be kind of like the For Your Eyes Only of master performances, where they kind of get more and more outlandish and Moonraker and everything else. But For Your Eyes Only was no, let's just bring it right back down and be minimalist again with James Bond before we go crazy again on Octopussy and stuff. And to do the same with the master, that would be so interesting and weird. And I bet you people say, "Oh, he's so boring. He doesn't even hit anyone." I would appreciate just like that. That would be the hashtag.
Well, just the entire I love Michelle Gomez's portrayal because that's the closest. She's basically the Joker, in terms of quiet, sinister craziness. But Sim and Dewan are mostly just kind of
Nuts.
Nuts, yeah. And I feel like Dewan is doing Frank Gorshin's Riddler with glassier eyes.
As long as he's not doing Tommy Lee Jones' Riddler.
He wasn't, so he couldn't.
Okay, good.
You mean Jim Carrey's Riddler?
Oh, yeah. Duh.
Yeah. Tommy Lee
It's hard to tell
Jones.
because Two-Face is such a generic, yelly idiot.
Which Superman? That was Superman 3. No,
Oh, that's enough.
that's Quest for Peace. Sorry, that's one.
No, 4 is Quest for Peace.
No, that's the one
Don't
that.
fall into his trap, Kyle.
That's the one that Tommy Lee Jones is in, I think, wasn't he? And for some reason, he was also chasing Harrison Ford around. I don't know what the hell that movie.
Well, that's accurate, yes.
I love this bit. It never gets old.
Yeah, the oft lauded Batman / Indiana Jones crossover film series.
This guy seems like the governor of the prison here seems like the mayor of Batman City. I don't know much about Batman, so he seems,
He looks like an old Riker, is what he looks like. I would have said that before Picard showed an old Riker.
yeah.
Right.
He looks like he should be the villain from The Love Boat or something.
Yeah.
What do you mean, the villain from the Love Boat? There's probably more than one.
Ah, fair enough.
My God, I'm really sorry,
In
everyone.
the Love
who-
Boat cinematic universe, as it were.
Or
Doesn't know
perhaps
Love Boat.
perhaps he's the one that needs the most redemption on Fantasy Island.
Is this?
As a kid being
is this?
disappointed because all the ads for Fantasy Island are very titillating for a 10-year-old. And then you'd be like, oh, this is just a morality play. To hell with this.
Point of order: is this count as a separate incarceration, or because he's still in the
No,
Moon
it
Leader?
does. Number 9.
Okay, it is number 9.
Yeah, because he escaped.
Number 9.
All right, sure. So this is 9. Then we're talking about here. Then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that he's nailing the doc here on tax evasion.
Yeah. Hey, we got
Take that,
Capone. We'll
Phantom
get
Menace.
you. Yeah.
And it's like this formal thing with like really like informal wording.
Yeah. Oh, he's paraphrasing.
Why would he paraphrase if
I
he's
love that
reading
the
directly
Master's
from the page?
emblem is the Death Star.
Well, actually, if you look close enough, it's a Dalek.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I guess it is.
I think that exists as a Clayton Hickman shirt for what it's worth.
It should.
Oh, I'd buy that.
Yeah, for $1.
For $1.
We both said it.
I never did look to see if Hickman did the Danger bulk flower design or not.
Well, this is 10, right? Yeah, this is 10 because this is on the Master ship.
This will. Yeah, this is now
This will
officially
be
10. Yeah.
Sure. For Joe, sure.
Yeah. Well, Joe and with the Doctor will count that as a combined 10 because Doctor Who here is going to join her very. And I honestly, I think this might be it. I think this is the last one. Isn't
Doctor
it?
Who got his normal outfit back.
Yeah. Well, of course.
It might be, but they might escape and then get put back in the cell. I don't remember.
That's a good point.
We're
Because that
going
is
to
happening.
find out as time goes on.
Every escape restarts the incarceration.
It does. Yeah. It does. I think we burned through 3, I think, in the first 2 episodes just by escaping and going back into the same cell.
It's like
Yeah.
timeless child regenerations.
Go on forever.
He's referencing the Sea Devils, but that does not count as one of the incarcerations in this. Just so you know.
No, he's referencing previous incarcerations.
So
you can't gin it up like that.
Yeah.
And we're at what? This is probably got to be double digits by now.
Yeah, we're
No,
at 10.
We're at 10 now. Yeah.
Good God.
Oh dear.
I love multicam shooting because there's 3 cameras shooting the scene at least, and one of them, like you just tell, like one is just perched a little bit through the bars right now. There's one that's sort of on the right hand side of the screen there. You can see it's sort of blurry.
There's one. Oh, I might be a little fast.
See, there you go. Closed circuit television camera. See?
I was a little fast. Look at me.
In that ship, anyway. Maybe the serious
In that
commissioner is.
I was lamenting earlier on, Kyle, the fact that with a little, the audible signal tricking people into seeing other things, like would there not be CCTV cameras somewhere to dispute?
Yeah, you'd think of there of all places. There'd have to be
Yeah.
visual evidence, although that can be doctored.
Oh, and
Or mastered, I guess, for that matter.
remastered.
Can it be Ogron? That's just the Ogron hitting its head against the wall over and over again. It's performance art.
Damn. I need to carry one of those. Can you get through TSA pre-check with those, I wonder?
If you hide it well enough, sure.
Yeah.
What, a garrote wire? Probably not.
Yeah, I think no.
Yeah. hey, this spaceship bridge looks a lot like the bridge we saw in the first 2 episodes.
Oh, but the big difference is it
does.
has pink lights in the background.
Actually, it's not quite. It's not quite because the desk.
And no pinup girls either.
No, the desk. Actually, it's very. I imagine the desk itself is slightly similar, but
And it's 4:00 in the morning right now.
that's true. 4:00 and all's well, cause reboss operation.
No, I figured it was something.
I think my office actually has chairs like that, like almost exactly.
Really?
I think.
Does it have a computer
Yeah.
like
Empty
that
now.
though?
Yeah, that's what we work on.
All these computers are just basically based on old-timey switchers.
Oh, I love it.
At the time, current switchers.
Yeah. Buttons. I mean, how else are you going to get anywhere if you don't have buttons to push? Press the buttons.
What if all computers, even today, were tiny monitors and giant control panels?
Sweet.
It's like the
We
we
need
never
much
got
better
any
off.
better than
yeah,
this.
the adventures say, listen.
I just look at
why-
I'm looking at my MacBook Pro's touch bar and going, well, why are you better?
Hey, it's the moon. Doctor Who went to the moon to shoot that. They didn't at all pick up stock footage at all from. Oh, geez, it turned.
But this is part of a glorious time before Star Wars when they're like, people are like, yeah, these effects aren't bad.
Yep, pretty good.
If the ship hadn't turned, it would have looked fine.
Yeah,
But turning a 90-degree angle in space does not look
very,
great.
very.
And yet
tricky.
somehow when we see ridiculous, impossible moves in space now, we're just like, yeah, fine, whatever. CG.
I know.
Like I was
I
watching
will
Picard
always
last
take-
night and one of those happened. I'm like, come on, really?
Yeah. I will always take model shots in old things.
Oh, yeah.
I've been watching a ton of Japanese tokusatsu shows and movies. That just means like special effects heavy. And like there's a movie called Message from Space, which is like the Japanese ripoff of Star Wars, and it is great.
Here's what you need
There's
to
a
do,
lot of-
Kyle. You need to send me a list of these things.
Oh
if
yeah,
you
what?
can.
What's the name of this one? Message from Space.
Message from Space, 1978. Starring Vic
There's a-
Morrow and
there's a-
Sonny Chiba.
Vic Morrow.
I cannot remember the name, but there's a great detective show that was huge in Japan in the 70s, and it is the most glorious 70s opening you've ever seen in your life. Of like this guy driving through a rather desolate-looking Tokyo in a sweet-ass hat, and oh, it's great. So good.
War of the Worlds. I get it. His famous novel, says the book.
Yeah, that cover wasn't cobbled together or anything.
Not at all. It's not your normal Penguin Random House book now. Message from Space.
There is no way that Delgado buys into this nonsense.
Well, he is. He's not going to try to escape. He's locked in there. That's a lock. Can't get through a lock.
But I mean, this banter is just a complete giveaway.
Yeah. You know what my favorite thing about this is realizing they took his clothes away on the moon. He had that wire with him there. They didn't find it, and then they gave it right
It was
back
on his
to him.
shoe. It was on his. It was stuck in his shoe.
Well,
somewhere.
yeah, but still, you'd think they'd be like, what weapons is this man carrying?
None.
They're more concerned with ideological purity than they are with.
That's true.
weaponry.
That's a good
That's
point.
a very good point. That's a
Well, that's a pretty half-assed point actually, because they should have cut that wire.
You know, when we're watching them as you are, all in a row. I'm just watching these two, but like the moon in my memory is so much bigger of a plot point, and it really is just a diversion. Like in episode 3 into 4, and that's it.
Yeah, we're done with it.
The whole thing is to get the master here.
I think this is Katie Manning just basically making stuff up.
We're so
Rambling.
stiff-necked. That seems
All
more
right,
insulting than
Katie,
it
it's
should.
time to vamp.
I think the stiff neck thing was actually a reference to how Pertwee always rubs the back of his neck as a sort of a physical.
I like just the general irritation he has here. I'm trying to read.
Shut
Come on.
up. Muting. I'm reading my book. I haven't read this before. Huh. I wonder how it ends.
Why would any book have a spine where the words are offset back and forth like that?
Why would the master bother reading War of the Worlds in the first place?
He would have a Kindle for one, I think, wouldn't he? I mean, he was basically Jeff Bezos at that point. So, like, yeah. Buy his own. The nattering from Joe is accurate. I suppose, I mean, we don't. The camera obviously tracks her.
I love that little wave.
Yeah.
Just the end. It's a nice bit of whimsicality.
Uh-huh.
That looks like a fridge, by the way.
It does kind of look like a cooler, like a
He's
meat.
just going to hang in a meat locker.
Yeah. See, Dalek.
That does totally look like a Dalek.
You know what? Now that you say it, I never thought that before. I always
No,
thought
no,
that
nor did I.
stuff, but
Yeah. Although I
I
mean,
love this spacewalk.
It's for the series. Yeah. Yes. What I like is that you can't see the wires at all. It's brilliantly done. But I bet you on your 20-inch tube TV, most likely black and white still, for a lot of people in the UK, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Well, I remember, given this is season 10, the behind the sofa stuff. Phil Collinson, I think it said that he still had a black and white TV. Watching season 10 as it went out.
Like,
There's the wire.
When everyone went, when TV broadcasts.
You can see the shadow of the wire on.
Yeah, I know.
On the hull.
Like when TV channels like phased in like HD, like did you rush out and get an HD TV immediately? Like I finally got one in 2010 and that was like 5.
It took me forever.
Yeah.
I got one because of video games. I think I got one because I got Xbox 360. That's why I got an HD TV. Because I tried playing Half-Life 2 for like about 10 minutes on standard def and it was unreadable.
GameCube for me, yeah.
And, it's funny watching sports broadcasts from around the middle of the 2000s because they were realizing they were broadcasting for HD, but also a lot of people still had SD. So, like, they would frame their score bugs, like, in the middle of the screen almost, like, weirdly offset so they would not be, like, out of vision on a standard def television. It was so weird. Such a weird time.
Well, even weirder was 9/11 was all standard def. And then 2 years later, the Iraq War, pretty much HD is available if it's not the main thing. So you're like two big crises, and they look worlds apart, even though they're like an 18 months gap away.
Yeah. I think they were probably shooting the Starlost around this time in oh
God,
in a studio in Toronto.
Every one of these bad effects here is much better than anything.
Yeah, I know.
And they had Douglas Trumbull on the case.
Still think about that. When you think about how like, oh, that looks like a crap effect for Doctor Who. Just this is what the state of television was at the time. They were doing their best with what they had. The difference is with everything, and I do mean everything, is that you look at the raw footage from like the original Star Wars shoot, for instance, and like. The stormtroopers' outfits clatter, the doors shake a little bit, everything else. But when you're shooting on film, you have so much control over how you light each individual shot, how you can edit around the sound bit, whereas Doctor Who and its multicam setup, you have to light every shot so it looks good on all the cameras. You can't like sort of dub out audio because you're just sort of doing on the quick. So it's pretty much the same kind of production values in a way, but they had the ability to have time and energy to edit around them when you're making a feature film.
And kind of the opposite of that, I saw pictures of what's his name, Patterson, in the new Batman outfit, but it was just like a thing on the set. So he kind of looks ridiculous, but you realize when you see this thing lit properly, then it's going to look great. But it does look dumb in flat light. And it's another Batman movie, so it could very well look dumb anyway. But
yeah,
we've
they really need to
Batman.
get away from the idea that Batman needs to look like Batman, but also be like realistic and go like completely the other way, like even weirder and more gothic than what Burton was doing. That's the way to do it.
I mean, I do like how Marvel does it, where they make the suits look cinema appropriate, but still like the Vision still looks like the Vision. He's just a more muted, and the reason it's more muted colors is because that. It's just easier to do on film or digital, I guess, now. Nobody is ever going to do Dick Tracy again.
No, man. that movie's good.
I saw a review that said, it's not that the movie's good, it's amazing. Like, there's things about it that are great. The story is not one of them.
Yeah.
But if you go along for the ride, it's fun.
Is that like Flash Gordon then, which is also great?
Yeah, although I can never do that with Flash Gordon for some reason.
Flash Gordon's
but I see what you're saying.
Sorry to interrupt. Remind me, Gordon alive?
Apparently, I've heard tell, but I'll get confirmation on that. Yeah.
Okay. I'd love it if someone would emphatically tell me that at some point, but it doesn't need to be right now.
I can't think of anyone who would do that.
It would be a blessed event.
Yeah. Point of order: Joe being held in the airlock here. Is that a separate incarceration?
Sure, why not?
I think so.
Okay, we're at 11 then.
11.
What
What about Doctor Who trapped in space? Not Probably
No,
not.
no, he's because he's doing
'cause he's
something.
outside.
Yeah.
He's actually doing
true.
something with a purpose in it. He's not just stuck there.
Yeah. But he's not.
I meant to point out, but when the doctor was climbing down that ladder, the hose was attached to nothing.
Yeah.
So what was he breathing?
We had the hose out for like propulsion or something to read.
I don't know if any of you guys are Expanse fans, but there's spacewalks in that show that are insanely good, and this is not that. But I love it for the opposite reason, because it's terrible.
Right.
And it's from 1973.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just kind of cool for 73. Given what they had to work with, I got all the points in the world for this. But yeah, then you watch, I think the end of season 2, there's this great spacewalk where one of the characters is literally running up a ship, and it's just amazing.
Is it like Legolas running up a bunch of falling stairs?
No, because it's not stupid,
Okay.
and you can't hear video game sounds. Like I swear, when I saw that in the Hobbit, I was like, I can hear the Super Mario sounds. This is ridiculous. I might have even said, "Oh, for F's sakes."
I wonder if did John Pertwee get danger pay for doing this in the sock feet?
Oh, I wonder. Oh, no, because there's like little pads on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, he's wearing his socks, yeah. It's a good look at Pertwee's shirt there. The frills on it.
Needed a different lens to make this shot work.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Spaceships. That's maybe a take 2 on that little maneuver there, but all right.
Yeah. Different lens would have made it not look like a tiny little toy.
Quite possibly. Shooting big spaceships were not a normal thing at this point.
Shooting big spaceships were not a normal thing.
Yeah. Interesting. I never noticed that these Draconians, and there are probably ones earlier in the episode, don't have the little peaks on their shoulder pads, perhaps as a notification
maybe
of
they're
their
not the warrior class.
their
Maybe
warrior
maybe
class, yeah.
Or the ambassador class.
I think the reason I love this story is because of the Draconians.
Yeah, it's great that like literally towards the tail end of the last episode you're here for the commentary where we finally see them, Kyle.
I know. I didn't even when you asked what episodes, or you gave me these episodes, and I was just like, "Yep, great, perfect." And it's like these are the ones where there's the least Draconians in it. I don't care though.
No,
I love it.
We have waxed poetic on them in the previous episode.
Oh yeah, they look so good. Every design element on this story is perfection. It does not get the credit it deserves. It's also a very well written story.
Yeah, it is.
This was their one attempt to do like proper space opera.
Yeah, I love space opera.
And they didn't go with musical for a format.
Good.
I'm surprised.
Continue.
Given Pertwee's background.
I'm glad they didn't. Really, really glad. I think we dodged a bullet in the RTD era when I thought that might have happened then, but I think that ship has sailed.
Hey, we're going to see John Woodnut soon.
Oh, well, God, that's always a perk up in the. That's what you bet. That's what you actually base the marketing around. Hey, well, I know it's been a long 4 episodes, everyone, but stick around next week. John Woodnut. He's a coming.
And number 12.
This is this 12 or 11? This
Yeah.
is 12.
It'll be 12.
There you go.
Because if it were the master trapping them again, you could argue no. But now, since it's different people trapping them again in the same cell but with different circumstances, it's a different incarceration.
That's 12. Yeah.
In 4 episodes, 12 times.
Yeah. Wow.
Truly bananas.
There has never been a point since they first landed on the ship where they have been free to go on their own. They have always been prisoners.
Yeah.
Yet somehow they still get things done.
They do.
They didn't trick me either.
Well, here's the thing. I mean,
Tiny
it's
little-
does the story actually progress without any involvement with the Doctor and Joe? Like, are they just along for the ride, quite literally?
It's possible, but the story only progresses, I think, because of them having been there in the first place, because it is all of this. Like, they are the pawns of this giant space, like, scheme.
Yeah. I'm not sure the back of an Ogron is worthy of a cliffhanger. The cliffhanger.
If it had panned over just, I know that's the episode 6 thing, but if it had panned over and you just saw, like, the tip of the Dalek eye stalk, that would have been
Yeah,
cool.
well, they're not
I
even
watched
there
it.
yet. Yeah.
I watched Deep Space Nine yesterday, and I still stand by the fact that Star Trek has the worst act breaks ever. All the time, consistently bad.
The ad breaks. Oh,
Just music swell and people
Zooming in on Riker looking concerned.
Oh, I know, it's ridiculous. It's like, oh no, like this meteor is going to hit us like literally right now. I cut to Riker looking very concerned for several seconds and not acting.
And then an ad for, I don't know, Shearman or something.
Yeah. Well, that was delightful. It's nice of you to join us for a couple episodes here of Frontier in Space, Kyle. As you said, I knew you'd come running once you saw that it was Malcolm Hulke involved. So,
I mean, you could have asked me any story, and I would have said absolutely, because I just enjoy spending time with you guys anyway. But instead of dangling a carrot, you dangled like a big sloppy cheeseburger, which is
pheasant.
my kryptonite.
yeah, exactly. Delivered to you too, not in person. So. I know that I got the name of your podcast wrong 5 years rapid,
Yes.
but tell us about that show, and I don't know where you're going to be at when the time this episode comes out, but where are you going to be at when this episode comes out, do you think?
Yeah, so 5 years rapid is the Third Doctor podcast that I'm doing with Joy Piedmont, and we're one story a month, and so that will take us exactly 2 years to do all 5 seasons of the Third Doctor, and so when is this going to come out? May?
Mayish, yep.
Episodes come out the first Friday of the month, so our May episode will be The Demons. So we're just finishing up season 8, heading into season 9 for June and the rest of the year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. And if you want to hear me talk more about old TV right now on the writer's room, Eric and I are doing season 2 of The Outer Limits.
That's right. Yeah, and he did.
And a whole lot of Oxygen stuff as well.
Yeah,
We did for our kind of bonus episode for Who for Schools, that campaign from the winner got to choose a new Who story for us to talk about. So we broke up our Outer Limits talk with talk of Oxygen, and there's a commentary that we did for that too with Joy Piedmont and Shannon Dohar. So lots of good stuff on dwtwr.libsyn.com or 5yearsrapid.libsyn.com.
well done. Thanks, Kyle, once again.
Hey, thank you guys.
You betcha. I'm sure we'll talk again at some point during the course of this crazy time that we live in, because we'll be bonkers from talking to ourselves during that time. So.
Sure.
Yeah. Next week, we'll be talking to someone different who will be joining us for episodes 5 and 6 of our ongoing commentary of Frontier in Space, Planet of the Daleks. So do join us for that, won't you? Until then, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro. Subscribe to us on iTunes and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.